Love, sacred love, is all that you are, God. And since God is love, we too are sacred love. Whenever I think of love, especially this February month of Valentine's Day, I think of roses. It's a great symbol for love. In fact, I say love is a flower, and you, its only seed. You, each one of you, is a magnificent God seed of love. Now, perhaps right now, though, like in that song, The Rose, you might feel that you are lying beneath the winter snow, with winter being out there. But thank you, God, that we live in Florida and the sun is always shining. And we know that with the sun's love, and we're going to spell that S-O-N''S, with the sun's love that's beginning to shine on you along with the sunshine here in Florida, you too can begin to unfold and release within you all that love and become that beautiful rose, each one of you. During this entire month of February, we're going to be focusing upon the power of love that is within us. Love, in fact, is one of our 12 innate powers. And the location that is attributed to the power of love, of course, in your body is in your chest area, right here. We always kind of do this when we're thinking of our heart and love. You can tell from our decorations that the color that is symbolic for love is pink. It's pink instead of red, like the roses. But pink love, pink light. And I want to say too, thank you, Margaret, for always putting out our decorations every month and arranging them. We appreciate your loving service for doing that and then putting all the other things away too. So she does that every month faithfully. I don't even have to think about it. If you want to know the stone that is symbolic for love, it's rose quartz. So if you do want to think about love more, just get you a little rose quartz crystal. You can buy them in heart shapes even, and just hold on to that to remember the power of love. And of course, the disciple that represents love is John, the beloved of Christ. So as we begin this process this month of learning more about the power of love, let's first of all, like we always do, take a look at the definition about the power of love. And we always go to the 12 powers in you. And Reverend David Williamson has these words to say to us about the power of love. Love is my ability to know oneness with all, and to desire that good comes to all. Love is my ability to share, to draw together. Love heals, harmonizes, renews, prospers, and unites. I know that God is love, and I am that love power expressing as me. The power of love casts out fear, loneliness, and selfishness. Love externalizes in my body as my circulatory system, my heart, liver, spleen, blood vessels, blood, and lymphatic system. So we always say, if there is a problem, a dis-ease in those areas, then first of all, take a look at your power of love and how you're using that in your life. And then if there is a problem though, please be sure to check it out medically. But first and foremost, look within at your power of love. You know, I think, wow, about that definition. That was quite a definition, isn't it? You know, it wasn't like what I was thinking about back when I was in high school and I met Marion and I fell in love. You guys remember those days, you know? And then I thought it was love when later we got married. That was exciting. Surely that was love. And then I thought, well, it's love. It's certainly the manifestation of love when we found out we were having a child. You know, but Reverend Williamson wasn't talking about that kind of love. I think what he was talking about is that agape love, that Christ love. I believe that there were 3 different kinds of love in Aramaic. So what we're talking about is that agape love. And perhaps it will help us a little more deeply to understand if we look at the quest that was written by Mary Alice and Richard Jaffola. It says, most of us have believed that love begins with an object of love, just like I thought it began with Marion, rather than being an indwelling faculty to be lived. If we don't see love as an activity of our spirit, then we can easily believe that all that is necessary to express love is to find the right object. In other words, to find the right person, the right love example. And then we're going to love, right? But this attitude is like the person who wants to learn to paint but won't take art lessons, claiming that when the right scene comes along, they will paint it perfectly. The fact is, we don't need the right person in order to express love. Here's the key. When you truly, truly love one person, and it can be any person, it doesn't have to be a spouse or, you know, a significant other, you are able to love all people. You love the world. And most importantly, you know to love yourself. To love yourself. You know, I think that Jesus, our way shower, gave us the very same instructions when he said, "You shall love the Lord God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind." And he goes on to say, "And you shall love your neighbor as yourself." Now, many times we remember that first part of the Bible verse in our daily activities, and we say, "Oh, I love God. I love God. I'm here at church. You know, I'm in my prayer time every day. I love God. Well, sure, I love others. I love everybody here. You know, I love." But then we forget that important commandment that we love ourselves as our neighbors. I have to think about my own neighbors then. Do I treat them so well too? And the neighbors doesn't mean just the neighbors across the way from us. It means our neighbors across the world. But first and foremost, even though it's kind of backwards in that paragraph or in that little verse, we must love ourselves first. We get it a little backwards there. I think we have for a long time. Well, Louise Hay, who is the author of You Can Heal Your Life, says that there's only one thing she ever works on with her clients, with the people that come to her. And she works on the concept of loving the self. And she says, now I'm not talking about, and we're not talking about today, about vanity. And we're not talking about arrogance. And we're not talking about being stuck up and thinking, well, I'm just it and I'm going to love myself. I'm going to love myself to pieces because I'm it. We're not talking about that kind of love. That's just a cover-up for fear, actually. What we're talking about is having a great respect for ourselves and having a gratitude, a feeling of gratitude for this magnificent body that we have, for our magnificent mind, for this life that we're living. Because we know in unity that we are spiritual beings and we're having this earthly experience. So it's so important that God made us in His image and likeness, and so it is imperative that we love ourselves. Now, there are many things that we say and that we do, probably on a daily basis, that show that we don't really love ourselves if we think about it. And Louise Hay shares with us some of these things, and I just want to read them to you so that you will know. And you can think about, do I do these things? We scold and criticize ourselves endlessly, saying things like, even to ourselves or out loud, I didn't do that so well. We mistreat our body with food, alcohol, and drugs. Oh my, I remember that, and there's no victims, you know. Nobody held a gun to my head and said, put that food in your body and gain weight. We choose to believe that we are unlovable. We are afraid to charge a decent price for our services. We create illnesses and pain in our bodies. We procrastinate on things that would benefit us. Ooh, that's one thing I have to watch too. We live in chaos and disorder. We create debt and burdens. We attract lovers and mates who belittle us. And she just says, and what are some of your ways, now that you've got an idea of some of the things that we do? Well, the good news is, though, that in her book she gives us exercises to do that helps us overcome that lack of love that we have for ourselves. And she's really big on mirror exercises. So I'd like for all of you to try this too when you go home. And sometime this week, just do this. She says that when it's done, though, with her clients, and I'm sure that she's right there, and so it might be a little more difficult, you know, but when they look into the mirror, she says, say, I love you exactly like you are. I love you exactly like you are. She says when that happens, when she asked her clients to do that they start to cry usually, or they well up with tears. They just can't do it sometimes. Some people even get angry. And in fact, one man threw the mirror across the room. He was so angry because they don't love themselves. I know that when I learned about that and I first looked in the mirror and looked deeply into my eyes, it was hard. It was hard to do, to love yourself, especially when you get up in the morning, if you do that first thing, and then you just look a wreck, you know, and you begin to go, oh, look, my hair's a mess, my eyes, how can I love myself looking like this? But even after you're all fixed up, Can you still say it? I love you the way you are. And so she coaches her clients then. They have a long talk, and I'm sure that must be a little grueling too. But it always boils down to one thing after they get through all the talking and everything of why they can't do this. It boils down to them saying, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. And then when that happens, she has these words to say, well, hooray, we're so glad. We're so glad we've got to the central issue now. We've got to the core issue that you don't feel good about yourself. And now we don't have to bother with any of the side effects, like body problems, like relationship problems, like money problems, or a lack of creative expression, because not loving yourself is going to cause problems in those areas. So now we can just, put all our energy into the cause of the whole thing, which is not loving yourself. So isn't that simple? Isn't that simple? I think it's the first step, really, that Jesus was trying to teach us, to love yourself. Well, the rest of the book, goes into details about, what not loving ourselves is going to cause, some challenges in our life, just like we said. And did you realize that not loving yourself was going to create these problems in your body? And not loving others too, I should say, but that's another talk next week. But not loving yourself is going to cause problems in your body. It's going to cause problems in your relationships with others. It's going to cause problems, in creating debt and burden. Didn't know all that. It's going to cause problem in your creative expression, and therefore in your personal life, in your creative life, in your work life. Not loving yourself. So the power of God's sacred love that the music team was singing about is so important to our own well-being. It's important for us to bring forth that power of love if we really wish to be healed and to be in harmony with others and to be prosperous. And yes, we are talking about money today. Usually I say we're not talking just about money, but we are talking about money today, and we're talking about all the other attributes of God that's prosperous, like peace, joy, love. And it helps us also to be united with everyone on the planet. So I think that Richard and Mary Alice let us know in the quest again. All of this that we've talked about today rolled up into these words on page 261. There is an innate need in each one of us to express love. The inability to express love is the common cause of our problems. We see this in children and teens who have been deprived of love. We see it in adults who spend their lives looking for approval and acceptance. Neither the children nor the adult knows how to accept love. And so neither can adequately express that divine love that we've been singing about. They stop growing because of the fact that as human beings, our soul's growth depends on how much of God's love we can accept. When we stop accepting love, especially that divine love, we stop growing. So let us again remember that we are God's seeds of divine love. And with that Son's love shining on us, that we will become that loving, divine rose, each one of you. So God bless you as you go forth, loving yourself, loving your neighbors, and loving God. Namaste.